Welcome to the Influencer Show with your host, Trishawn Ben Salmi.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Influencer Show, where I interview people who can help influence the way you live life in a number of different ways. I'm your host, Seven, and today we have a very special guest for us. So if you'd like to introduce yourself to the listeners and let them know a little bit about you.
Hi there, Tracy. It's Richard Davies. I'm from Simply Be Yourself. Basically, there's a website actually being formed at the moment for that, but people can get in touch with me. Simply Be Yourself 7 at gmail.com temporarily. Basically, where I actually have come from is I'm sort of my purpose is to influence influencers of today and tomorrow, so that they become something more than they presently actually are. And that's through the process that I actually take them through. Now, this is a blend of modern modalities as well as ancient and spiritual as well. So it's a real deep blend that actually gets to the core of what's holding them back or how they can actually be more.
That is absolutely amazing. I really like the sound of that. And why don't you share with the listeners why you do what you do?
Well, it's a purpose in life. It's something that's evolved over many years of searching yourself for what is life about? What is it actually? Is there something you're going to leave as maybe it's like a legacy? How are you going to use the gifts that you actually have, the knowledge, the experience, and how can you blend that into something that's other people? It's a very small group of people I work with through the year, maybe 10 or 20 people, because it's so aligned to where they're going and what they're actually trying to actually do. So it's a real passion to see them grow, but also as a beautiful synergy is actually to see the messages and the influence that they have on me to expand what I'm actually doing as well. So it's a really good balance.
That's really, really interesting. I think that's actually really important, because then as a result of being able to simply realize that, yes, I am able to help people change their lives, but then being open to actually accepting different forms of change or just different insights as to how your clients may look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody has the ability to do anything. We're only restricted by our own particular experiences and how we actually feel, our perspective, basically, of the world. And that is just built up over a period of experiences and time. And anything of that can actually be changed. The traumatic side, obviously, which is the most thing. And also, but really understanding the true positives of your life and really showcasing them in your own self, and then obviously whatever you want to do from there.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. And what would you say has been the biggest influence on you that you wish you had known sooner?
I think it's actually the belief of believing in yourself and that things can actually change. It doesn't have to be like this. And I think that there's multiple instances of that in everybody's life. And it's like, do you go left or do you go right? Do you carry on with what you're actually already doing because that feels comfortable, even if it's necessarily a negative way of looking at things or accepting a negative? If you can actually take the other direction and start to build gradually on all the experiences, no matter how bad they actually are. I've worked with people who've had extraordinary lives, both good and bad, but who they're trying to become now is forged by them. And this is the most important part of what I actually do, is the people that I actually work with, they want to be free of what they've actually done or continue with the positivity that they've actually created. And the most important part of the message is that that person needs to be self-empowered, not to be dependent on anything, but only their own drive and passion in positive change in anything they're actually doing.
And I think that is really, really important, because actually just by making that conscious decision and making that choice to actually say like, hey, this area I can use some improvement, and then looking for it just shows that not only do you take responsibility for yourself, but then you're constantly trying to up-level and upscale the way you look at life.
Yeah, I think most people have like a current level of reality based on their experience, as I said, that's molded into their reality of what they're experiencing today. And what if you could actually change that perspective, both physically, mentally, and spiritually or energetically, so that you could have an even better experience? And the key point is that these people will then go on to influence other people. So there's this beautiful ripple effect of change. And what I would be working with them, guiding them, whatever, is nothing to do potentially with what they're actually going to be doing, because they're another facet of change in their own right. And that's, but when I see people actually making that actually happen for themselves, it gives you an incredible level of joy that they're actually living the lives that they had already dreamed of, but were trying to make a reality. And that's what I actually work with. They work with me, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, building on that particular growth of themselves and where they're actually going. Because there's no competition. You know, they're not like going to be a mentor or coach in a competition with myself, because I'm a guide as well as a mentor, and I do my own particular thing, and they will do their own particular thing as well, and that's their uniqueness.
I think that's actually just so very true, because as a result of being able to teach someone and being able to teach them from a stage like, yes, you can do the same thing as me, because like whenever people often hear that someone's trying to go down the same route as them, they often try to not give them too much or give them just enough so that they can't actually go and do something with it. But it's about giving them the full package and then giving them and then allowing them to be in the choice as to how they can then use the information that they've learned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's too much of a restriction in the flow of sharing and actually
Yeah.
supporting. You know, it's almost like a conflict before you've even started. But because I know exactly, you know, what I'm doing to help this particular person, male or female, to actually evolve to where they need to actually to be, and take away all those blocks that are in their mind, that are in their body, that are in their energy, they're based on emotions, so that they can actually be who they want to be. And the beautiful thing about it is that each session has all the elements, so you don't have to keep waiting. You instantly start to feel better.
Mm. It's so very true. I totally agree with that. And what would you say people could do to stay motivated during moments of crisis?
I think it's all about how you're feeling, how you're thinking. Because if you're constantly in a negative mindset, for instance, it's a very basic form now, then you're always going to look at the worst type of things. And that can just be the pattern you've been running for a very, very long time, or a pattern that's been given to you over a period of time. But the most possible thing is that what can you do to make this, let's call it, experience or situation more for you? How are you going to create something different? How are you going to change this negative into some form of positive that you're going to grow? Even if you do something that you've been asking to do for a very long time, or thinking about things in a different way. So the crisis is based on whatever it's actually based on. But what are you going to do personally to become something different in this particular space? Because everything is taken away from us in the respect of, mobility and things like that. It's starting to get to be easier now, but you have an opportunity. But if you're not going to take that opportunity, then that's fine. But if you are, then try and do something really positive with yourself, or study something, or do something, because you've got the space. Stop looking at it as a negative completely, and try and look at some positive facets to it.
And I think that's actually really important, because at the end of the day, we have the choice as to what we focus more on. So it's just about simply just like actually awakening into the fact that, like, yes, all these bad things are happening, and I can then acknowledge that, but I can then focus more energy towards this, which can then bring things like happiness, wealth, etc. But it's just about being conscious as to what we decide to do with our days.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And what would you say is your passion?
I would say my passion is family, but also being doing what I actually do is in a very unique position to help guide, support, influence people. And it's become more of a passion because of the results I actually see within people that they're actually moving on to and doing some really dynamic things in their own business, their lives, but also how it changes. Once you change the rudimentary fundamentals of the person's mindset, everybody else around them benefits. That can be family, it can be like your husband or your wife or your partner or your girlfriend. It doesn't really matter, because you're changing. Everything else changes around you, and that has effect on me as well, obviously, because I see that change in these people. So that drives my passion for changing many more people's lives, because I see the evidence right in front of me.
I think that's actually just so like amazing, because as a result of being able to actually see the positive impact that you then had on someone, it sort of actually gives you that reassurance that yes, I am making a difference in other people's lives that can then go on to then touch and inspire others.
Yeah, so see, if you look at it, it's like it's a growth for me and it's a growth from them. So it's a win-win-win situation, and they're inspired to do so much more, because the things that were blocking them before, be it emotional or geographic or situational or whatever, are starting to melt away because they are taking control of their lives and making things actually happen. So as I see this sort of gradually sort of unfold in front of me, it's like, and then we do a lot of reflection, because some people are so deep in their own space that they can't actually see the change instantaneously. I mean, they see some change, but not the depth that I actually see. So we do an awful lot of reflection work, a lot of writing, down, information, and then speaking. It's almost like speaking their new truth and how they're actually feeling. And when they actually do this particular process that I've developed, this thinking, writing, and speaking, but in certain questions that we actually put together for them, it has this quite beautiful effect of them speaking what they're going through and how they're feeling in this particular moment, which seems to give them an extra layer of consciousness of where they actually are, which is quite amazing to actually watch.
That's totally. I think that's actually really important what you said there, because at the end of the day, like, we all have the choice of whether we then change to suit our surroundings, or our surroundings then change to suit where we are at. So it's just about simply being able to then make the decisions that will not only suit us in the short term, but also in the long run.
It's literally what you resonate and what is flowing out of you. And if that's going to be negativity and suppression and pain, then that's going to continue, because that's what you're literally attracting. But if you change that to actually be something more empowered and more driven and more positive, then that's going to happen. It's as simple as that. Most people think that the law of attraction is, I just think of the lottery, I get the ticket, and everything's okay. No, you've got to change. A lot of things are around you and what you're actually doing to be able to achieve certain other bits and pieces. And that's the hard work. And if you're not really wanting to do the hard work, then it's not going to work. It's as simple as that.
I totally agree with that, definitely. And if you had a megaphone and you could say one thing to the world that would have a lasting influence, what would it be and why?
I think from a megaphone point of view, it would be like, things can change. You don't have to stay in this stereotypical world that has been created either around you or within you, and that just believe that the positive change with the right people can actually change your complete perspective of how you can live your life. And just through the megaphone, the loudness of it, just believe that you can change, but you have to be 100% committed, and then you can have 100% of your life. Yeah. And if that was what I would actually shout out over the microphone.
I think that's definitely very powerful. And I think that's something that people are either suddenly starting to wake up to, or they feel as though there's something missing in their life. Because like as a result of sort of like the whole lockdown scenario, people are then seeing that, it's amazing outside, but as a result of being inside now, they are then picking up on those gaps or maybe those areas that they should have worked more on, and they kind of feel stuck in a way. Mm. And what?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Oh no, go on. Sorry.
No. I was just saying I agree.
And what advice would you then give to those who may have had their very own £1 million idea at a time like now?
I think you've got to look at it in the respect of do your research, ask yourself where has this come from? Is it from desperation? Is it enlightened? From an enlightened, inspired space. Really go deep on how you feel about it. Ask questions. Feel your way through it, but investigate how this can actually help people or support people in a particular way, and then just go with your gut feeling of how you actually, and if you need support, reach out for it.
I think totally. I think that's actually just really important, because when people often like just get started on anything, really, they think, oh, no one's doing it, or I don't see much of it. But yes, it might be good, but then in some cases it may be for a reason. It may be because people aren't interested in that, or they can't yet see how it can then be of use to them. So just by doing the research, and sometimes, it may not be easy, but you can then actually show your customers how they then sort of like in a way can improve their lives, or just like any area of their lives as a result of having your product.
Absolutely. Well, it actually affects every part of your life because you change. So there is nothing that doesn't change in a positive way because of the way that the actual structure of the programs. If as long as you're 100% committed, it's 100% guaranteed that you will change. It's as simple as that, because you're the one that's actually making the change with my support. And this is the empowered part of it. It has to come from you. It can't be artificial from somebody else. Otherwise, you're just not going to make it through the process of transforming from the old you to the new you.
I definitely agree. And what would you say has been the biggest issue, or maybe even a problem, that you are aiming to solve as an influencer in your own industry?
I think to support the future and current influencers to get out of their own way and reduce them using the pain that potentially has got them to this particular point as rocket fuel, but to shed that and carry on with a different type of renewed, sort of more natural energy, so that understanding where they've come from, respecting where that pain has actually taken them, but also mainly so that they could actually start enjoying and congratulating themselves. Because a lot of people I work with are influencers, and before they actually worked with me, what was actually the biggest problem is they were just going to the next milestone and then getting to the next milestone, and they weren't actually enjoying the incredible work that they're already doing, which was a bit, shocking when you think about where some of these people have actually come from. But the rocket fuel that's got them to this particular, and this is have to be very, very delicate with this, because the rocket fuel that's got them and fueled them to this particular point, the passion, the pain, and everything else, needs to be converted very gently into this beautiful new force of them being self-empowered and understanding where they're actually going and driving forward in a much more positive way, but with celebrations along the way. And that's very, very important.
I think it's definitely really important. I think that's something that people actually sort of like fail to comprehend, because when I was talking to another person, they said that what they used to do a lot of was, no, what they clients used to do a lot of was when they achieve something, they go, oh, what's next? What's next? But it's actually about simply acknowledging that you then sort of like pass this milestone or you achieve something new and simply showing the gratitude and appreciation for that achievement.
Yeah, very true, and a lot of people don't do it. It's a very sort of hidden mask that people actually put on, especially in the media, and they can be so much more with that gratitude, with that understanding of. I mean, I'm talking about gratitude for themselves here, let alone for anything else. They're so driven to get results so they can actually tick another box, and then they don't feel worthy. So therefore that kicks into, well, what's my next milestone? What else do I need to do? Because I need to keep myself busy because I don't necessarily like who I actually am or whatever they're going through, or I can't accept praise or success or whatever. So that all has to be beautifully, gently changed into that influencer becoming more, I would say, naturally powered as opposed to artificially driven by anger and frustration and pain from the past.
No, totally. I definitely, I think that's actually really, really key and crucial. And I think that's something that, like, I hope that you listeners are taking notes, that you guys are not missing on any of this valuable information. As I think that's something that's really, really important. And then as a result, just like simply, like every now and then, even, because yeah, it might be hard to start, but just simply like every now and then, like just having a gratitude list saying like, this is what I've achieved in the month, and this is what I'm grateful for. This is who I'm grateful for, and things like that. And then not only does it help you get better at appreciating things and people, but it also then helps you, just to bring in more levels of success into your lives.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely.
And what would you say was the pivotal point along your journey, and what did it teach you?
Oh wow, there's been a few. So to sort of to try and pick one out, I suppose about 10 years ago, I had to make a very important decision. It was a bit of an epiphany moment. It's quite an unusual experience, believe me, not for the faint-hearted. And I had to choose between a very important areas of my life, family, friends, situations, career, and I was working for as a consultant and mentor at HP at the time, to try and actually do more with what I've actually been given. And it was a very, very difficult time because you want to just continue with the normal job, and you want to continue with just making sure everything's, and then you have to make a choice at that particular point to do something different in your life and really dive in and try and get a balance. It's very, very difficult to actually do, as well as you're going through this emotional stage as well, which is very difficult to try and engage in what you're actually doing. Because on the day that it actually happened, I lost my voice. I couldn't speak. And as many people that know me, that's quite a serious condition for me not to actually say anything. So on that particular moment, I had to sort of bring myself out of that particular space and calm myself, and then make some decisions periodically after that. It wasn't just that day, but completely changing how I actually did things, where I was going, but gradually changing that particular process. And that brings me to 10 years later today, supporting influencers, which it would have been one of those pivotal points that got me to this particular stage.
I think that's actually just so powerful and inspiring, because then as a result then going through that, it then sort of helps you then be more able to relate with like some clients, like, as a result of going through a hardship and overcoming it. It then sort of changes your mindset and actually helps you become more solution based.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think those sort of pivotal moments, depends how people actually react to them, what support is around them, what they're actually doing, and things like that. But you're absolutely right. It changes your perception, and therefore you become a better guide, mentor, because of the depth that you've actually been through yourself, And then when you hear other people's stories, both deep and traumatic, you have a deeper level of understanding than just somebody that hasn't had that experience. Because purely you can go deeper purely because of who you actually are and what you've actually experienced.
I definitely agree with that, and I think that's so very true. And then as a result, being able, as a result of being able to then go deeper, it then allows the person not only to feel sort of like you're going on the journey with them, but then it also helps them sort of like, yeah, he knows how I'm feeling and all things like that, and then it helps them to actually overcome that struggle that may be holding them back in their life.
Absolutely. I mean, I think as a guide, you have to have an extreme amount of understanding and empathy for people, and that's built on over a long period of time. So you're not just talking to a normal coach or a normal mentor. You're talking to somebody that has a beautiful spiritual connection with themselves and therefore other elements. So therefore that you can actually have a deeper conversation in confidence, but with, complete support in that moment.
Totally. I definitely agree. Absolutely. And what would you say are the top 3 lessons that you've learned along your life journey? And how did they then influence where you look at life?
I think really the top things would be, the first one I would think would never give up on your passion, because there's going to be a lot of things thrown at you in life that is going to test your confidence, your the way you look at things. And if you were to have that that influence, never give up on your passion. Second one would be, all things can change, because at some points in your life you feel as though that, well, this is it. There can't be any more, because there isn't. I'm not aware of anything else. This is just it. And the third thing, and this is the most fundamental one, is believe in yourself. Because if you have this sort of the passion and the ability and the belief, then you have support around that for direction and guidance, there isn't really anything you can't actually do in a positive way. Because if you've got that drive and that passion, but it's a positive passion, it's not from pain and hurt, which is a different type of driver, which can be, as I said before, converted into something more beautiful as you realize just what you've been through, how you've actually overcome certain things. But you need to hear that. You need to hear that from somebody that can be an orator, that can be a spokesperson in that moment to support that particular, almost holding that space in that moment, as you would do in the whole session. And then to have the belief as well that all things can change, but also to believe in yourself is like the holy grail of confidence and driving forward. And then I think from a point of view of how that's influenced me is that those are the pillars of strength that I live by and I expand in my work today with other people. So it is sort of, it's me, it's my work, as in what I do with influencers, and it's my sort of mantra, if you want to call it, my calling to do this, to be this particular guide with people that will go off and do incredible things. And that is, a real privilege to be in this particular space.
I think that's just so very amazing, because then as a result of sort of like seeing and acknowledging that you play a key role as to like guiding people in the right direction to then not only help better themselves, but also just become clear as to what it was that was holding themselves back. And instead of relying on others, it actually teaches them to be self-reliant, sort of actually then prepares to them. So if needs be like further down the line, let's say that something was to put that's maybe similar, or they may see some connections with, it then allows them to have those skills that they've accumulated as a result to then tackle those issues.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you see, each session that I actually do has a mentoring part, a guided part, as in we talk and understand what the actual problems are, where you're going through, and this happens on a very high level at the point, and we go deeper and deeper as we move through. And then there's a meditative part of it, and a deep trance part, which is basically you get out of your own way so that you can finally relax, and and there's a lot of beautiful things that actually happen for the person within that meditation. And then we look at an energy map of the person, see where the pain points are in that particular person. And then the final part is the reflective coaching. And that sort of wraps it all together. It sort of ties it with a bow so people can go, oh, I see where this is going. And as you progress through the sessions, through the programs, you basically have a much more beautiful understanding of yourself and where you're going. And, I freely promote the person goes and does the meditations that I teach them, on their own, and they do beautiful reflective side of things and continue the journey really for themselves, because again, it's all about self-empowerment.
So yeah, I think that's definitely so very amazing. And if you had to be another person for one day, who would it be and why?
um I think it would have to be one of our wonderful leaders, in the respect of the world at the moment. For instance, the Prime Minister of England or something, where you could actually create a new direction, fair for all. And I'm not trying to be too, all over the place with this, but really give the nation some pride back, some strength, some direction, and basically leave that legacy, if you can do that in one day, to be proud of, and leave something that actually helps everybody, no matter who they actually are. And that's all about the energy about it. That's and it will be a constant change. So it will grow in momentum because the people will want it and want to keep it, because it will be part of their legacy. So every single person in the UK, or if you're talking about America or you're talking about another country, it's their leaders to actually really start doing something different and more profound. And the legacy is what the people actually do with that and the government, but in a sort of a beautiful combination.
Definitely, I think that's really amazing. I think that's actually so important, because then as you're sort of like leading others, it then it then has added responsibility, because you're no longer just sort of like maintaining and looking after yourself, but you're actually having an influence on others, be it negative or positive, which is completely up to you at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what are your views on the word legacy? And what legacy would you like to leave?
I think legacy for me is continued change. It's what you start is your legacy, but what continues is the legacy. It's like, if you can, you know, create a movement, which is a bit calmer, in, with an empowered focus, a blend of empathy and complete clarity, and understand that everybody, has a future, and sort of similar to what I just, said earlier, but it's more, that the legacy you actually leave, like what I do with the influencers, and then what they do with it, and then how they influence other people and how they do things. That is the real legacy for me. It's not just one person's view. The one person lights the fuse to create huge change, in many factors, but the people that they may have helped go off and do similar things, it's still very empowered and driven and legacy orientated. And I think that's the true essence of legacy. You start something that other people can continue.
No, totally. I think that's actually just so important. Then having something to sort of pass on and constantly being paid forward to then influence others, it means that your teachings then actually like live beyond you.
Absolutely, and I think it's like something so powerful you can do with energy, with mindset, with how things actually positive change. That if that gets carried on to the next generation and the next generation, and it has a positive effect, and change happens, then what a beautiful thing to do for humanity, really.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And what are your views on morning routines?
On
Morning routines.
morning routines, I think things like having a routine, I think is very important for people. I think also, for instance, mantras and things like that. Now, the only problem I have with mantras is that a lot of people use them, and this can be a beautiful morning routine, and they're wishing they're in a different particular space, which is fine, but it's not going to have a huge effect. If they're having positive change, and that can be obviously when things relax a little bit, going for a coffee with a friend, having a different perspective, just getting things off your mind and working through things, go to a counselor, therapist, massage, doesn't matter, okay? But they start a new way of actually being. So, for instance, having a mantra in the morning. One of the things I actually do in various parts of the sessions is we do a gratitude journal and understand and we reflect on that in the first part of the sessions, what they've actually said, how they've actually done it. And I asked them to do it in the morning, and I asked them to do it at night, but also write 5 things in the morning, what they're grateful to be going on to actually to do, as well as 5 things at night, what they're really pleased of what's actually happened. Okay. And other things that we actually do, we write out a beautiful sheet, a statement, and then they read it in the morning when they get up, and then obviously they read it as many times through the day as they actually want to, and then they read it at night as well. And then what it does, it constantly compounds how they're actually feeling and overcomes another level of block or limitation. So those sort of things are very good. If you like to exercise in the morning, if you take your dog for a walk, all good. It gets you out in the fresh air, do everything you actually can. But you must start the day with a positive outlook on what you actually want to do, and not be stuck in that old negative, oh God, I've got to go and do this, because that's just simply not going to help you.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so very important. It's just about like starting as you want for it to go on. So if you have a good start to the day, it's there's a higher chance that the rest of the day will be like this. It's just about just maintaining that same energy throughout the whole day.
And it's continuing that, every day, because you get into this beautiful feeling, this is making me feel good over a period of time. And once you're in the programs, and you're actually writing this gratitude journey, and you're writing these statements, and you're doing all these bits and pieces, it's sort of, you can't get away from this positivity, and it's just, it has this beautiful flow to it.
Yeah, I definitely totally agree with that. And what advice would you then give to your younger self?
Well, I think it's believe in yourself is still the key. I think understand things don't stay as they actually are. That can be a good thing and a bad thing sometimes, but generally, it's, you don't have to look at today is the only direction for the rest of your life. As you grow, you have much more understanding, experience, both good and bad, but it depends what you actually choose to remember. So if you believe in yourself and where you're actually going, you obviously may need some guidance in the respect to get to the right direction. But at the end of the day, if you believe in yourself, then that will overcome a huge amount of obstacles as you move through.
I think that's definitely something that each and every one of us should try to input into our lives, because then as a result of just having a self-belief that's so strong, it then actually not only propels us forward and helps us to achieve things, but it also helps us to inspire others to do the same, and just anyone who we come into contact with.
Yeah, completely. Because when you share that space with people energetically, you're going to have an effect. So what would you want to do? Do you want to have a positive effect, or do you want to have a negative effect? And that's at that particular point, it's a choice. You have a choice to change or not. And if you choose not to, well, you're making a decision.
Totally, I definitely agree, definitely. And what advice would you give to someone who may have started up a brand new business and it's been maybe, let's say, 3 months in and they're starting to give up? What advice would you give to them?
Well, if they're starting to give up, then revisit, I suppose, what originally drove them, was passionate about to be in that particular business, and depending on their circumstances, don't be afraid to fail and learn valuable lessons, so that you can, from those experiences, so that you can actually build a stronger version of you, because everyone can sort of become a little bit immobilized in the panic of failing, and then they don't actually do anything. So it depends on your circumstances and situation, obviously, but it's having the belief in yourself, and also what product or service or thing you're actually do your research, understand the market, what support if you go onto YouTube, see what's going on, what relevance is this to actually people, what's actually going on for them. But to believe in yourself, and even if that idea doesn't become something, that you had the ideas and develop those ideas. But what's stopping you? What's holding you back? What's driving the ideas? Is it a positive thing or a negative thing? Where's it actually coming from? Really do a little bit of soul searching in what you actually, why are you doing this? What is the event? Is it just to earn money? And that's what most people actually, a driver actually is. But it's like, what service are you bringing to the world? What are you actually trying to actually do? Everybody needs to earn money. Everybody needs to be respectful of money. But is that the only driver that you actually have, and why? So it's overcoming lots of elements of being afraid of failing and driving through those. And the strong entrepreneurs have an unbelievable drive to continue, and you have to. It is incredible. And if you are afraid of failing so much, what is stopping you from moving forward from there? But also, are you really an entrepreneur? Are you really suited for this? Should there be something else you should be focusing your time in? Because not everybody's an entrepreneur. They may think they actually are, but they're not. But how do you find out? Well, you ask questions, you research, you see what's actually going on. And then if you are going to do it, you put your whole heart into it.
I think that's definitely so crucial, because then if you're not in it 100%, then you're not exactly going to reap 100% of the rewards. So if you want to achieve the best and just the most out of anything, you have to actually put in 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. It's not easy to it's not like, oh, it's going to be all this, money and things like. It's a hard road. It's not for the faint-hearted. It sounds great on all the banners and all the self-help books and all the rest of it. Do this and that, but it has serious pitfalls. And unless you're ready for what you want to do and how you want to actually do it, then you have to really gauge if this is right for you at this particular. And you just want to have a paid experience working for somebody else and develop yourself on top of that, by educating yourself, by getting a mentor or a coach or whatever it actually is, and developing yourself so that you can be in a better mindset and a better energy to do new things. So it's very, very individual based.
I definitely agree with that. Definitely understand it. And lastly, could you share with the listeners where they can find you if they'd like to find out about any upcoming things you may have?
Yeah, well, the website for Simply Be Yourself is being built at the moment. I'd hope to have actually done before the interview, but so Simply Be Yourself 7 at gmail.com. Email me, and then we'll have a conversation. You have to be somebody that's 100% committed into what you're actually doing. Some of the other work we're actually doing is on elitesanctuary.com, which is working with a business partner. So you can see some of the stuff that we're actually doing there. But Simply Be Yourself is a new hard, sort of hitting, very directional place where people come, like influencers, to make a change, to live the lives they've always actually wanted to actually live. So by all means, have a look at Elite Sanctuary. Contact me on simply be yourself 7 at gmail.com, and then we can discuss if it's a fit for you and what we can actually do to support your process.
That is absolutely amazing. I really do urge you listeners go and check him out. I'd like to thank you, Richard, for coming on the Influencer Show today.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. And also thank you to you listeners for sticking to the end of the interview. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please do feel free to comment below what your favorite part was, and also leave a like, and please do share so that this can then go on to inspire others. And also, if you guys would like to apply to have the chance to be on the show, please do feel free to email the email which pop up on the screen. And I hope you guys have a great day. That's it from me. Bye.